Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to tell you because whatever your expectations of this program were, whatever your expectations of this process were, I am here to blow them out of the water. If your expectations were here, I'm going to deliver this. And it's been for me, it's almost hard to put into words how much has gone into this thing, because not only is this the most complicated, in-depth, and challenging program I've ever made in my entire life, right? And I've been doing this for 4 years, or at least the education company side of things. The amount of money, time, and resources that has gone into this platform, I'm not going to be able to put it into words. And maybe some of you guys who have a software background, you'll understand the complexity that goes into building a custom community, building real-time leaderboards, building, all of these little proprietary softwares here and there, building the infrastructure for plug and plays, even just search function, and doing it in a feathered way where, one certain thing has more weight than the other one. Maybe some of you guys may understand, but this is history. Like, you really are a part of history. And I know you have put full faith and trust in me, and it is an honor. It really is. And I don't take this lightly. And that's why, to be honest, at Gray Agency, we were already at the top of the education space in our industry. We didn't need to do what we've done. I didn't need to pour over $1.5 million in R&D cost, in developer cost, literally a year to even find the team that can make this happen. Like, the amount of stress and effort that's gone into this, and the amount of talent I've had to pull together. I mean, even you see in terms of production quality and the fact that I have a full-time editor, Tristan, who's amazing, been at my company working for well over a year now. His entire life has been consumed by this for 4 or 5 months, 6 months. That's all he's done. Wake up, edit AN, go to bed, wake up, edit AN. And he's just done that again and again and again. So everything from the platform, the tools, the community, all the way down to the production value. This has been a grand vision of mine for a long time, and I'm so happy that I can finally show you this, because to me, this is something that's so important to the industry, to the culture. So with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Agency Navigator. In today's module, we are going to go over the program principles. Now, in today's teaching, we are going to go over the dance between education, software, and community, how this will be different to anything you've ever experienced, how to get support inside of Agency Navigator, the community and leaderboards and how they work, the track record of this program, our full circle approach at Gray Agency, how to guarantee failure, the pitfalls to watch out for, as well as how to guarantee success. Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I want to talk about the impact on the culture. I kind of touched on this briefly, but as I said, if you're in this program, you really are a part of history. And I'm a person who's very self-aware. And in 2018, I had a course business, right? As some of you guys who know, this is the third kind of iteration of this program. At first, there was Six-Figure SMA, then there was Agency Incubator, and now Agency Navigator, right? Six-Figure SMA, when that was around, really that was just a course business. And the thing about that, that business was super easy to run. I was making a ton of money from it. And I actually ended up putting way less money in my pocket by turning it into an education company and bringing on all of the staff, and then also starting with all the stuff that we do in Nepal and building schools and really building a mission for the company. But to me, I thought it was important, right? And it was amazing in 2019 and in 2020, and then as well in 2021, it was an education company. Gray Agency was an education company, and that really elevated us. And that was really why we've been able to stay on top for as long as we have. But ladies and gentlemen, if I died accomplishing what I had with Gray Agency, it was amazing. We've helped so many people. It's ridiculous. And we have a success rate like no one else. But did we really accomplish something that's never been done in the industry before? Like, really innovate in a way that's never been done? No. And that is why I have gone through all of this drama, effort, time, money, and my team has too. I mean, I've worked my team to the bone the last 18 months, the last 24 months to make this happen. And why? Because, as I said, for me, this is so important for the industry. This fusion of, you come into a program and it's no longer just a program. You have your community, but it's a custom community. It's all under one roof. And the most important thing as well is tools, right? So not only can I give you the information, the knowledge, the community, all that, but I can also give you the tools. And then outside of that, we also have the gamification of the leaderboards. So that way, real time, you always know when there's wins, when there's debriefs. And that's just, ladies and gentlemen, this is just V1 of the platform. I mean, if you look at V1 of this program, basically six-figure estimate, and you compare that to Agency Navigator, the V3, totally different story, right? So now it's at a point where being a great agency student is almost like being a Tesla owner. And sometimes you're just going to get a notification of, hey, we gave you this new free bonus course, or there's this new tool that you can now use. And we're just going to airdrop it to you, and you'll never know when. And this is all possibilities that have opened up now that I've built this platform. So I really need you to take this in. This is not a program. This really is a lifestyle. And to me, you're not a student. You're a part of a culture. And as I said, I am so honored that you have trusted me in this process. And myself and my team have worked around the clock tirelessly to make sure that whatever your expectations are, no matter how high they are, we will exceed them. As I said, I'm here for you. My team is here for you. And this community is here for you. Now, speaking of support, let's talk about the best way to get it. Now, the best thing to do if you have a question or you want an answer or this or that is rewatch the program. Now, I know that that is easier said than done, but we have made it as efficient and effective as possible with our new search function. So whenever you want, just log into the portal, and on the top right, you're going to be able to look through the search function. Now, when you look through that search function, basically the way it works is we have gone ahead and made a transcript for every single live Q&A call, every single module. Of course, all the plug and plays are transcripted. So that way you can actually select, what you're looking at. And let's say you just want to look at outreach and you just want to see specifically from modules inside of Agency Navigator, you're going to be able to select, and based on the index, because we have some points that we cover and that's below each module, based on that you'll be able to go and you'll be able to look at, let's say for example you want to look at Instagram outreach. You can type that in, and if there's a plug and play, it'll show up. Obviously, if there's a module where I mention it or it's in the little index of what we cover in that module, then it'll be there and it'll direct you straight into that module. Or let's say you've missed a couple Q&A calls and you just want to see if anything in the past few weeks, we've covered ads. You can just look at that as well, and you can look at when we mentioned it in the Q&A calls. So this is a tool that, by the way, is in full refinement again and again and again. As I said, with us, it's almost like being a Tesla customer where, day one, there may be a few chinks here and there. And, you might be watching this a year into Agency Navigator launching, and you're like, what chinks? Like everything works seamlessly and perfectly. Or you may be, watching this in day one. And if that's the case, obviously, please bear with us. Every single week, we're rolling out new updates, fixing glitches, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, within 3 months of this program launching, like that thing works seamlessly. And even from all the testing that we've done over the last 6 months, 12 months since we built out that tool, it all works perfectly. So that's the first best way to get support, is re-watch the program. Second is the plug and plays. As I said, when you use that search function, well, there's two things you can do. You can either use that search function and you'll just be able to search it up and select whether it's a plug and play, or you can just go straight into plug and play section within the portal. And then from there, you're going to be able to see Agency Navigator. And then based on the different phases, you'll be able to see, all the plug and plays listed. Now, if those two are not sufficient, then the next best place to go is our custom community, right? You have the best industry leaders on earth in this program, whether they're public about it or not. And, still 50% of the industry leaders can still be tracked back to us. But the other 50%, back in the day when we used to use Teachable, we have all of our students listed in there. There is not a single industry leader who has not learned from us, right? So what you have is a hive mind of the smartest agency owners on earth. And we're here to help you, right? And that's really the big thing that I've always wanted to foster with this community and with this new custom community is having a place that's really optimized for no distractions and really a place where people can have the high-level conversations that they want to have. So if you have any questions at all, go ahead and post it in the community. My team at the agency is actually in there, right? So we're going to be answering questions, and myself, I pop in occasionally, and I also answer some questions in there. So that's the next best place to go. Now, if that doesn't work for you and you need a little bit more nuance, then come to one of the Q&A calls. Now, if you go ahead and you check in the portal, you'll actually find a Q&A calls section tab, and that'll show you the next time that we do Q&A calls. It's either once or twice a week. At first, we're starting with once, and then we're actually looking to ramp up to twice a week for the Agency Navigator students. So you're going to be able to look at the next Zoom call, and these Zoom calls are basically group environment. You raise your hand and you're unmuted and speaking to myself or my team one-on-one. And then after those things are done, they're always uploaded into the Q&A call recording section, so you can watch those whenever you want. If you missed if you missed one of them because you had a dinner or you had something going on, whatever it may be, you can always refer back to those as you like. And then lastly, if you have sort of a more technical question or a billing question or anything like that, just go ahead and email support@gradiency.com. My amazing customer support lead will get back to you within 24 to 36 hours. So as I said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the best way to get support if you need any additional support inside of Agency Navigator. Let's go ahead and run through some of the rules as a part of the community. Now, a lot of the rules that we had in place that were sort of harder to moderate before, now that we have a custom community and we don't use Facebook group or this or that, it's a lot easier. So let's just go ahead and run through some of these rules, or I guess sort of more requests, because for me, I am very protective over this community. And I know that one bad apple can spoil it all. So that's why we are very, very protective. And that's why we have some of these requests in place. Request number 1, always try to answer someone else's question before you ask one yourself. And there is, that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, which kind of ties into this, is only answer a question if you have 100% certainty on the answer. Let's say, for example, someone has a question about some technical thing that you just remember, hey, it was mentioned in this module. Then you can go ahead and say that, right? Because all you're doing is referring back to something I said. Or let's say someone has a question about some outreach thing and you're like, oh, in this module, email actually said this specific thing pertaining to it. That's very useful, right? Because you're almost indexing for people. Or let's say someone has a question about LinkedIn and you genuinely have a lot of knowledge in LinkedIn and you can pitch in and kind of, chime in and help, then obviously go ahead and do it. But if you're giving some sort of half-hearted advice that really isn't your area of expertise, then maybe just mention that and then do it, right? So there's kind of 2 rules inside there. So the reason I'm saying go ahead and answer someone's question before you ask one of your own is because that law of reciprocity, you may think that's not, you in isolation may think that's not powerful. But when our community is, hundreds and thousands of people, if everyone holds these same values, that's why over the years, the Gradiency community, it's like a known fact. If you're a part of the Gradiency community, as you guys know, on social media, I'm very quirky. I talk about things that most people will be so afraid to talk about. I talk about some very intense things. Another thing is, of course, I post a lot of business content, but I'd say probably 50% of the content that I put out there is very, it's stuff that you need a lot of critical thinking for. So the sort of person that is attracted to myself and Gradiency as a company, we're usually, not to stroke your ego. Actually, no, fuck it. I'm going to stroke your ego. Like, you're cut above. I know you're cut above. I know that for a fact, because I know that, if you want to come in here and make a quick buck and you thought that money is going to fix all your problems. And if you came in here and you thought that, everything is just very tactical and it's just like, you just need a hack or a trick or this, that, like, you would not be attracted to myself because half the stuff that myself and Gradiency post, it's very it takes a lot of critical thinking. So as I said, I know you're cut above. I know that about you immediately. And the reason I'm going on a bit of this tangent is really just to say that this community has been fostered over a few years. And the way that we make sure that this community continues to stay at the standard that it is by abiding by some of these principles. The next rule for the community is always welcome new members and celebrate other people's successes, right? So celebrate their debriefs, or even if it's not a debrief, maybe something else that they posted. The reason this is so important is because I'm sure you can, I guess you're going through this process right now, but in 9 months, don't forget that feeling that you had when you came to this program, when you're of course you're excited, but you're also nervous and you're a little scared. And other people are going through that. And they, when people do their welcome posts, I don't know, it's they're almost, they feel very exposed, right? So make sure you're always welcoming people to the community. So that way, when they come in and they do their welcome post, they're like, oh, wow, this is really what Gradiency is about. Okay. The next thing is no promotions or, general farming for your own self-benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been in this industry for 4 years. It's very obvious when someone is putting out a value post, not because they want to share and it's coming from a good place, but because, they basically just want to repackage some content in this program and, put a fancy name to it and go, oh, I'm a this and this expert. Ladies and gents, at Gradiency, we've seen it all. And luckily, with the way that we've structured the community, we might change it a little bit later down the line, but the way that we've structured the community is everything is open source. The other thing, if you're sharing from a genuine place, why would you not have it there? So, let's say you really want to share something that's worked for you. Have it there. Let everyone else see, right? I don't, when it's a real community, there should actually be no need for private conversations and this and that. Just share what's working openly. So with that rule, luckily with the new platform, we've kind of mitigated it, but nonetheless. The next sort of rule, or I prefer guiding principle, is no negativity or complaining, okay? Feel free to vent or share that, I've been having a bad month and this has happened. For me, that's you can share that, maybe you're at a more difficult part of your journey. Or let's say it's been 6 months and you still haven't signed a client, and you're seeing people sign clients within a month or 2 months, and you're like, what's wrong with me? What's the issue? But like, that's okay. As long as the undertone is still, hey, I'm still fighting, I'm still striving, and I just want to share this with you guys. Maybe has someone else experienced this? There's a big difference between that and like, oh, woe is me. Like, I've done this and this and this, and it's just nothing's working, and blah, blah. Like, they come from two different energies and, two very different places. And, ladies and gents, I've had my ups and downs over the last 5 years of running my agency. Never was it coming from a place of negativity or whining or complaining. It was like, yeah, man, this is shit. I've gone through periods where I've lost 50% of my clients in literally a week. Well, I was going to say a weekend, but I think it was like 72 hours. 50% of my clients. And that's just bottom line, pure profit. At that point, I didn't have any contractors, full-time employee. So, whatever it is, I've been there over the last 5 years. So, just as long as there's no whining or complaining, it's just authentic sharing, I guess you could say. Now, last guiding principle is that when someone else wins, you win. And when you win, someone else wins, right? And that's really the ethos of this community. And that's really what makes this community so strong. So ladies and gents, those are some of the guiding principles behind the community. Now, real quick, I want to tell you what happens when you sign a client, okay? Now, one of the biggest things that I want to do with this platform is sort of that gamification, right? Where real time we can find out, who's signing clients, who's not, and then also, still have an air of privacy to it, and also have real-time leaderboards and prizes for these real-time leaderboards. So I'm going to show you, and bear in mind, as I said, all of this stuff is recorded weeks and months before it's launched to the initial sort of test group, and let alone, fully launched to the public. So there's parts that I'm going to show you inside the platform here and along the journey where you might be looking this a year after it's launched and you're like, oh, the platform literally looks entirely different, right? Because, we just want to get it out and, it'll have it'll have a facelift very shortly after it's launched, or, there's certain tools that don't look the same, just bear that in mind. But in general, just focus on the functionality. So with the leaderboards, we actually have a top 10 leaderboards, and I'm still yet to pick on the prizes, but I think I want altogether the top 10 or top 10 spot leaderboards to amount to $30,000 to $50,000, right? Like the value of what you get, right? And top spot, maybe it might be a all expenses paid trip, maybe it might be a fully spec'd out MacBook Pro, maybe it might be a Rolex, whatever it may be, right? And you can go ahead, and by the time that you're watching this, you'll just see what you'll see what the top 10 prizes are. Okay. So with that being said, let me go ahead and show you what happens when you sign a client and how that reflects on the leaderboard. So let me open up the platform and let me kind of demo this. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the profile section, right? So you can see your profile right here. You're going to go ahead and click on it, and you can see right here, you've got clients. Let's say right here, we go ahead and sign a new client. Now let's go ahead and say this client is Agency Flow. I'll basically use all of my different companies for the purpose of the demonstrations. And you can see right here, we've got some common niches: e-commerce, real estate, restaurant, gym, personal trainer, business consultants, medical/health, spa, in-person treatments, dental, legal, watch dealers, home improvement, automotive, car dealerships, pest control, SaaS, info products, publishing, hotels. We have publishing again. I'll get my team to remove that. Home improvement and other. So I'm just going to go ahead and select here. This is actually a SaaS business. So we're going to add client as such. Now, once you've gone ahead and add a client, right? So this client is in here. You can see what they're tagged as. When you sign a client, you're going to add your first payment. Now it's going to go ahead and recognize that this is your first payment, right? So let's just say, for example, right here, this is the first one, right? So we have a one-time fee, and then let's say you can come in and you can add further payments down the line, right? And you can go ahead and go, this is a one-time fee, a performance fee, or rolling monthly retainer, right? Now, bear in mind, after the first payment or the first debrief that you do, none of the following payments are going to be, post anywhere or anything like that. They're just going to be reflected in your leaderboard. Okay. So as I said, once you've actually signed a client and we've approved it, you're just going to go ahead and film a Loom, right? And you're just going to film a Loom, and you're just going to refresh the Stripe payment or the PayPal payment, or on your bank, you're just going to go ahead and refresh it. Okay, so that way it's just clear evidence. So you're just going to drop the Loom link here. That way we can validate and we can have an honest leaderboard 24/7. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead and validate that right here. And as I said, you're going to go ahead and put in how much the deal is. And then here, actually, as I said, for this one, we're not actually going to go ahead, like for future payments, it's just that first debrief, and it's just a little portion of it, right? So none of this, once you've signed a client, gets shared anywhere. We just go ahead and we see this, so that way we can validate that it's true. You have evidence of it, and then that gets reflected inside of the leaderboard. Now, when you sign your first client, it automatically recognizes that this is your first payment, right? So let's say you're going to go ahead and you're going to put your Loom link in, right? So let's go ahead and say I signed this client on a $2,500 a month plus 5% return on ad spend, right? This first payment I would have already received. I would have showed the Stripe. I would have put in the payment for $2,500, and this is a one-time fee, a rolling monthly retainer. And then here, this gets shared. This, so 1 doesn't get shared, 2 get shared, 0.2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 get shared. So this is really, open source. So that way everyone in the community can get to understand, how do you manage to secure a meeting with this client? I sent, let's see, I found the lead via LinkedIn sales nav, and then I went on to follow the founder on IG, and then you just go ahead and fill that out, right? Well, it's a sales process, right? And then here you want to really just fill this out as much as you can. What objections, if any, do they have, and how do you overturn them, right? You're going to go ahead and fill all this out, right? This should be like literally a paragraph, each of these. What's one piece of advice? You're just going to go ahead and be like, hey, my piece of advice is initially he didn't respond on LinkedIn, so that I actually followed up on Facebook, and then I actually found his personal Instagram. And for a week, I actually didn't even message. I just looked at some of the stories he was posting, and then I sent a voice, like whatever it is that you want to say and whatever sort of advice you want to give. Then here, you're going to go ahead and you're going to select this. I authorize Greency to share my amazing client win with the community to help other students on their journey, and so we can all celebrate wins together, right? So that's going to go ahead. You're going to create the payment, and then on our side, we're just going to go ahead and greenlight it. It'll take 24 to 48 hours. And as I said, we're just going to go ahead and validate based on the Loom. So let's say with this client, you go ahead and that's the first month fee. And let's say after the first month, you go ahead and you get your 5% performance fee, and you go ahead and you bill that client $2,873, right? And that's your first month performance fee. Then you're just going to go ahead and drop the Loom. As I said, this isn't going to get shared anywhere. This is just going to go ahead and get added to your tally. And then, as I said, maybe now this is coming up into your first 30 days and you're billing your second month, right? Then you're just going to go ahead and you're just going to drop, hey, there's another 2,500 retainer, and you're just going to do a Loom. By the way, the Loom can literally be like 5 seconds of just like you refreshing the page and being like, okay, this is the client and here's evidence, right? And you're just going to go ahead and create payment. Now, when you go ahead and do all this gets added to your full tally. Now you can see right here as well, it says awaiting approval. So it's gonna, by the time that this whole program and portal launches, it's not going to reflect publicly until we've approved it on our side. But this is what it looks like in terms of leaderboards. So you can see right here, this is what the real-time leaderboards looks like. Now I'll have all the prizes listed on the side here, and they're going to be some very, very juicy ones. But you'll be able to see your position, right? And you'll be able to see going down position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then outside the top 10, you won't be able to see, right? And then right at the bottom, you'll be able to see your personal position. So let's say you might be 373rd position, but you don't want anyone else publicly to see that. So right now we'll just have the top 10, because if you're in the top 10, more than likely you want people to see that. And then outside of that, as I said, you'll be able to see your position in relation to the entire community. Now, these prizes are going to be so juicy. They're going to be so sick. And also just the pride of like, I know for some of you guys, you literally have 15 clients and you might have to add 15 different payments, but that's sick, right? Like you'll be able to have a full tally and the entire industry will be able to see. Because ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest, right? There's a lot of fuckery in this industry, not a lot of fuckery, right? So this is going to be the first time ever where you're actually going to be able to validate who's about it and who's not. And the funny thing is, as I said, we have pretty much every single person in the industry in our program. So, if someone doesn't submit their evidence, then you got to ask yourself why. So, this is really, really cool to see. I mean, this is going to be the first time that anything like this has ever happened. And as I said, for those of you guys who have even 30 clients a month, it's just super, super quick. You just go ahead and you submit each payment. It's literally like a 5-second Loom, and it'll tally up over the space of a year. So that way you actually have your entire agency revenue over the space of that year. And, it'll update real time and you'll be able to see, who the leaders are. So ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the track record of this program. Now, the track record of this program is like nothing else out there. Full stop. In our last program, Agency Incubator, we literally had students making $100,000 a month profit. And ladies and gentlemen, the funny thing is that was the old program. the old information. That was without the portal, without the tools, everything that you guys get. But look, I'm going to be honest with you. That's not really the aim of this program. The aim of the program is not to get you $100,000 a month. The aim of the program is to get you to the point where you can quit your job, where you can finally start hanging out with your fiance or your husband or your kids, right? The aim of this program is to get you to the point where, I said, if you want to travel, you can travel whenever you want and not think about money, right? Really, the main purpose of the program is to get you to 10 to 15K a month. That is our bread and butter. That is what we do better than anyone else out there. And I'm not talking about revenue because look, I know there's some other business models where they're like, I'm doing 30, 40, 50K a month. No, you're taking home like 6, right? I'm talking about 10, 15K a month profit in a month in your pocket. That's what you get to live off. And then obviously there's tax, but we'll get onto that in just a little bit. I can tell you for a fact, the biggest life change I ever had was once I started getting to 10K a month. Like that 10 to 15K a month spot, that is the sweet spot where really 99% of your problems go away. Okay. And for me, it's been very cool to see that people use this program to get to 20, 30, 40, 50, even 100K a month profit with their agency, right? That's awesome. So also, if you're someone coming in here doing 10, 15 a month and you're saying, okay, I'm not going to get any use from this, trust me, you will. But having someone go from being in college or being in school or working a deadbeat job and getting to the point where they're making that 10 to 15 a month mark, really that just does so much for a person. I can't even begin to put it in words. So real quick, let's talk about our tiered system here at Great Agency. So we have a fish client who pays anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 per month. Now you got a couple of these clients and you're already making a full-time income. Okay, we get students catching fish every single day. Then we've got a shark. Now this is a client who pays anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 per month. Now this is where you're getting into some more serious territory. One of these clients, and you can actually quit your job. And it's always a proud day when a student signs their first shark. Next is a whale client. This is a client who pays $8,000 a month or more. One of these clients alone will bring you more than $100,000 in a year. Now, this is the greatest catch of them all. They're the North Star for everyone in this community. Now, when we sign clients, we actually make a post in the custom community. So bear in mind, these ones were back when we still used to use Facebook groups. Now, as I said, we make a post in the custom community with what tier of catch we got. We write a debrief of exactly how we found the lead, how we sold them, and how we will deliver the results. We celebrate with the rest of the community. Now, one thing that you actually saw inside of that debrief, the debrief when you signed that first client, is that there actually wasn't a photo function. By the time that it launches, we're going to go ahead and add that as well. So that way you can actually, do what we've been doing for years and years, which is, adding a little Photoshop, a funny Photoshop of you catching whatever, tier fish or shark or whale that you caught. Now, as I said, we only used to have a fish and a whale, but people were getting such incredible results. And this is back in 2018 that we needed to add another tier in. And as I said, that's why we have fish, shark, and whale. And I'm also active in there sharing my latest catches and writing a debrief on them as well. Now, the best feeling in the world is signing a client, okay, receiving payment from them, finding a hilarious photo / meme, writing out a post, and then celebrating with this incredible, incredible community. Now, we've talked a lot about success and the ridiculous track record of this program, but at the end of the day, you get out of this program what you put in. So real quick, let me talk about how to guarantee failure. The first thing is not putting the work in, okay? Don't expect to, this program and your business and relationships and pretty much in fitness and your spiritual practices, like everything in life is a matter of you get out of it what you put in, right? So don't expect to come into this program, go through it, make a couple cold calls or make a couple emails, and after 21 days in the program, throw your hands up in there and go, didn't work. Okay, guys, that's not how it works. Okay, so the easiest way to guarantee failure is just simply not putting the work in. And kind of on that point, the other easiest way to guarantee failure is not being patient. Ladies and gentlemen, it took me 7 months from my first client in August of 2016 to sign my second client, March of 2017. But when I signed that second client, I think by the end of the week I had, so let's see, that was 1,900 pounds, 1,500 and then 1,750. I think that's what, quick maths, was that like 4,200 pounds? So I think that's like $6,000. So within a week I was making $6,000 a month. And then within 30 days I was clearing over $10,000 a month from my agency. But I had a 7-month lull. And the funny thing is, SMA wasn't what it was back then. So I didn't have context of people being like, oh, I scaled to 30K in 6 months. And like, I had none of this comparison paralysis, right? For me, like I didn't sign a client for 7 months, but I was just like jolly old. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm sending out like proposals, which is obviously, we'll get into why you never ever do that. But like, I'm meeting with clients in person and then sending them proposals. Once again, two things you never do. And I was just like a jolly, happy kid, right? And that was very, very powerful for me back then, right? Because I wasn't comparing myself to anyone and I was very patient. So that's a big thing you need to remember is just be patient. One of my, or I'd say actually my most proud student interview, and I think I'll probably mention this a little later on in the program, but my favorite student interview, and we've had student interviews, as you've seen, with students doing $100,000 a month plus profit. My favorite one is one of my students who for 18 months, day in, day out, did outreach and worked on his agency and didn't sign a client for 18 months. I mean, honestly, I think I probably would have even quit after 18 months of that. Then when he signed that first client, within 30 days, he was making $7,000 a month profit. So all I can say is be patient. And that takes us into the next way to guarantee failure. And that's not using the support. Ladies and gentlemen, between myself, between my team and my agency, who also help out at GreatNC.com the best they can, between the fact you have the best community on earth, the custom tools, this ecosystem, right? As I said, GreatNC.com is no longer a course business or an education. It's a full-blown ecosystem and culture that's constantly updating for your benefit. And I said, there's tools and there's things that we're even building out in terms of accountability partners and matching you up with different accountability partners that is constantly pushing this platform forward. And these are all little nets and support systems that are there for your own interest. So a really good way to guarantee failure is not using them. But ladies and gentlemen, the biggest way to guarantee failure is giving up. That's it. When you give up, there's no more mystery. There's no more, but maybe I might pick up this one thing and this one thing changes my perspective. And then now my outreach is dialed in, or, maybe I learned this specific thing and, okay, now I'm, rather than keeping clients for 3 months, my retention's gone up to 6 months. Once you pick out these little things, or maybe even it's just a little tweak in terms of your mindset where it changes things from you struggling to get out of bed to, you being the best version of yourself and showing up every single day like that best version of yourself. The thing is, as I said, when you give up, there's no more of the, hey, I might pick up on one of these things, or maybe I've done outreach 999 times and that 1,000th time, that was when I was going to sign my first client. There's no more of that. When you give up, it's just like, to me, it's like death, right? Well, I guess I have my own views on death and other people have their own views on death as to what happens. But let's say in the traditional sort of context, let's roll with that. When you die, it's over. When you give up, it's over. There's no more what ifs. That's it. You have closed that door. That outcome is set now. It's over. It's done. You quit. So as long as you don't quit, you still got a chance. As long as you don't quit and as long as you follow all of the advice that I've given you and you use the damn support, we're here. Like, I'm here for you. Like, I can't put into words how honored I am that you trust me, that you have entrusted my team, GreatNC, this community, your other brothers and sisters in this community. Oh, damn it, this is sounding really cultish, but like, seriously, like, we're here for you. Like, this entire community is here for you. So I don't take that lightly. And that's why I've built this ecosystem. And that's why I've dumped all this money, time, resources. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to be honest with you. I was making way more money from this company in 2018 when it was just me and an assistant and it was just a course business. But that doesn't do anything for the culture. So the reason I keep iterating that is because I don't take this lightly. My team doesn't take this lightly. We know how important this is and we won't stop until you get the result. Now, you may not get the result. You may get the result within 30 days. You may get it within 90 days. You might get it in 6 months. You might get it in 12 months. You might even get it in 18 months, but you're going to get it. And I'll talk about this a little later down the line. I have, and this is hand on heart, I have never seen someone who's worked on their agency day in, day out and, hasn't had like, hasn't had shiny object syndrome and look in different places and, or, people who just like are 1 foot in, 1 foot, like genuinely committed to their agency for 24 months and hasn't reached 10K. I've never seen it. I've been in, in terms of actually helping people, I've been doing that for 3.5 years. I've never seen it. Okay. So you may not get the result today or tomorrow, but you will get it. So ladies and gentlemen, on that note, this is available for download right below this video. The moment you give up, it's over. You may not have to live with the pain of trying, but you sure as hell are going to have to live with the pain of regret. And that is the sort of pain that eats you from the inside out. That is the sort of pain that kills your sanity and keeps you up at night. Now, real quick, let's touch on how do we guarantee success. The two most important things for me, focus on you. Okay, we're going to talk about monk mode, and that's kind of like picked up a lot of steam over the last year that I've been doing it. Monk mode, and it really just, let's just call it what it is, just focusing on you. Shut out all the distractions. Shut out all the friends who maybe don't mean the best for you. Shut out the news. Shut out social media, unless it's working on your business. Just get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm just going to be a little selfish here. And good, because you need to be selfish in order to be selfless and really take care of your friends, your family later down the line. The next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, 12 months, focus on you. Shut out the noise. That's really how you win. And the next thing, and this is something that a lot of people struggle with, is celebrate your wins, right? Celebrate your wins and celebrate other people's wins. When you see someone has, secured their first meeting or secured their first client, celebrate those wins. That reciprocity comes back. And most importantly as well, you celebrate your own wins. I don't care if you got a meeting. Did you say that you were going to do, 5 looms that day? Or let's say you told yourself, I'm going to sit down and do 3 hours of outreach, using a multi-platform strategy, which we'll get into in phase 4. I'm going to give you this entire program. I'm going to give you everything in obnoxious detail. I mean, it's ridiculous. If you sat down and you did those 3 hours of outreach, I don't care if you secured a meeting or not. You should be proud of yourself and you should celebrate those wins. And that's how you build up that winner effect, which we'll get into in phase 2. If you do those two things, you maybe not in 3 months or 6 months. And this is really how life works. In the short term, we always think that things are going to go better than they are. And in the long term, we really underestimate what's possible. Maybe not in 6 months, maybe not in 3 months. But ladies and gentlemen, when you look back in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to go so much better than you could have ever imagined. And on that note, let's talk about today's action step. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to make an income goal for your first year and post in the Facebook group. Introduce yourself. Explain, how'd you get into this weird world of, having an agency? What's your income goal? How do you intend on getting there? And, really just let us know a little bit about you. We want to know about you. It's so funny. So many friendships have been formed from Grey Agency as a community. In fact, funny enough, there's actually a few relationships that have even been formed from this community. So it's, it's very, very powerful. So on that note, I want to welcome you to Agency Navigator. And I am very, very excited for the next few weeks, months, and potentially even years that we're going to be spending together. I appreciate you. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to support you. And I'll talk to you soon.